Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Okay, now that we're composed, good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
Hey, we have got to thank the fans, man. You guys have been spreading the word.
Yeah, thank you very much for your support, and we couldn't do it without you, man.
That's right. And make sure that you tell your friends you heard it here first.
That's right. So we'll be right back with our guest of the week, guitarist with cello-based indie rock band, Well-Known Strangers, Mr. Theodore Koth.
Hey guys, this is Jared James Nichols, blues rock, powerhouse guitar player, and you are listening to Amps and Axes. Cheers, man.
All right, and we are back as promised with the guest of the week, Mr. Theodore Koth of Well-Known Strangers. Theodore, how are you?
I am doing great. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Yeah, and I got one question right off the bat.
Okay.
Bing bang. You're from the Milwaukee area, right?
No. I live in the Milwaukee area.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, we'll get to where you're from, but
yes,
what were you
but my
interested in
question
Milwaukee?
is because of our one guest, actually two guests, the last two, or last one and then the one before.
Okay.
We've had past guests.
Yes.
Mr. Greg Kalk, do you know him?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't know him personally, but he's out in Waukesha.
Yeah. And then, of course, our good buddy, Jared James Nichols.
Yes. He's out there,
he's
too.
from that area also.
Right.
Yeah.
He had taken some lessons from Greg, right?
Yeah, man.
So he's turning into a monster as well.
So we're now becoming the North Midwest guys. Or would you just call that Midwest?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer Great Lakes, but...
well, there you go.
Great Lake, there you go.
So we're Great Lakes guys.
Great Lakes
now.
guys.
There you go.
That's got a little alliteration to it. I like that.
Yeah.
Great Lakes guys. So. Well, cool. Well, Theodore, I'm going to do with you what I do with... No, I won't be that brutal to you. I'm going to do with you what we do with most of our guests. And we're going to jump in the Wayback Machine and find out where Mr. Theodore Koth came from and what got you into this wonderful, crazy music biz. So let's get some history, man.
Well, I was born and raised in Lutherville, Maryland.
Lutherville. Wow.
Yes. Yep.
Nice.
We know where that is.
We do know where that is.
Yeah, grew up stomping around Towson, and geez, how did I get into music? Early on, I've always been fascinated just by music. When I was like 3, I was tinkering around on the piano playing Beatles tunes.
At 3?
And yeah, well, I mean, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not like doing, George Martin arrangements, but I'd hear jingles in the car radio, and then I'd just come running inside and play them on the piano, and it just has always been a part of me.
Wow.
And my father had a couple of guitars that I would just kind of play around on as a kid when he wasn't looking, and it just kind of just went from there. I had a really, really great friend who lived down the street from me, and he and I used to just to pretend that we were in bands playing on my dad's guitars, and his father played guitar too, so music was kind of always around. And then
you said your friend's father played guitar too, which means yours played guitar. I was going to ask why he had guitars around, but so he was a musical part of the family. Anybody else? And did he play professionally?
No, my father didn't really. It was kind of like more of like the I guess the late 60s folk scene, Mm-hmm. My parents just really, they both really enjoyed music. My mother sang, but none of them did it professionally. They just did it for fun.
Cool.
We had, music just was always a part of everything that we did. And, so my buddy Matt and I would just kind of get together and, eventually I decided to take it seriously. So I guess I didn't really start formal guitar lessons until I was like 12. Maybe 11 or 12.
Nice.
And, yeah.
Formal guitar lessons. Did you continue, or did you go, this ain't for me? Our guests are like 50-50 on that one.
Yeah. No, I kept going with it. My guitar teacher, his name was Mark Herlihy, and he was amazing in the sense that his mastery of the instrument was just so complete. He was really, really versatile in all styles. He was primarily a jazz guy, but he really kind of taught me how to take ownership of the entire guitar, not just be beholden to one style, and really treat the guitar as an instrument that you should really master, so that you can be as versatile as possible.
Wow! So it sounded like he looked at the guitar. I don't know how to phrase this. As much a part of the music as your ability to play it. I don't know. Yeah,
in a way. Yeah. I mean, he was really keen on making me read.
Okay.
And he did everything possible to stem the tide of tabs. So it was really, really great in the sense that he just really showed me how to get into the guitar, like the whole mind frame of being a guitar player, rather than just trying to learn a song or try to show off. He really, really taught me how to come to the guitar as an instrument that needs to be understood.
Nice. I mean, lessons and theory and reading a lot of times is it more uncomfortable than people want to go through. But I think, going through that, I think really makes a much more well-rounded musician. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And not only or especially from the playing aspect, probably less from the playing aspect maybe, but the compositional aspect and understanding music, it really helps.
If you check out their music, it's very mature. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's definitely well thought out. And it builds. That was the other piece that I like about the one video that you guys have out on your site is it actually has some dynamic range to it, which a lot of new music today, because not of the band, but because of producers, have that tendency to hit that brick wall thing that we talked about.
I had that discussion in the studio yesterday.
Yeah, it gets smashed, and then they hit it with limiters to get it back up, and then there's no dynamic range in the music, and it's like, and you have cellos in your.
Well, I was just going to say, how compressed and expanded can you make? Well, you probably could. It might wind up sounding like a different instrument. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, if you turn them to the side, cello, you got a bass.
There you go.
I love that line.
That's right.
So he's got to get back into.
Yeah, you were. It was your friend and your guitar teacher. Did you continue playing with your friend? Did that ever turn into like a band situation or anything?
Oh yeah, he and I we never went to school together, ironically, but just because of our proximity, we always were together. And we actually we formed our first band in 7th grade, right as I was starting to play, and he got me into Rush.
Nice.
And we were, as soon as we were able, we were learning Rush tunes like there was no tomorrow. We couldn't get enough of it. And so he started leaning towards the bass, and I stayed on guitar. And then when we got into high school, we went through, drummers were notoriously difficult for us to find at the time. Well, I mean, you're going into talking about 14-year-olds and asking them if they can play Rush tunes.
Yeah, that could be a slight problem.
That could be.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a learning curve there.
I think that probably eliminates 99% of the drummers at that age.
Yeah.
Well, just
at most ages.
Here's the thing: even if they have the talent, usually they can't afford the drum set
exactly.
at 14. So the guy he could play it, but no, I don't have a 30-piece drum set. I can't really work this out.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of dead spots.
Yeah.
Totally.
So by the time we got into high school, we finally found a drummer because my buddy Matt went to the Baltimore School for the Performing Arts and found a fantastic drummer down there, and we started a 3-piece, and we're just so heavily influenced by prog, we couldn't get enough of it, and we just kind of became like a prog jam band thing in the early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s.
Who were the other guys? Matt,
and then Greg on drums.
What are their last names? What are their last names?
Are they still here?
Oh, yeah, well, they're still around, yeah. Matt Wright, he's up in Boston.
Cool.
And Greg Herron, he's actually in Baltimore, too. He plays around with various symphonic stuff in the Baltimore area. I think he plays with the Baltimore Opera.
Wow,
and
nice.
A lot of other things. Because, what happened was, so high school came and then college, I went to Loyola University. It was Loyola College back then. And then Matt went to Peabody.
Okay.
And Greg went to University of Miami for percussion. So Matt was studying classical guitar, and I was studying classical guitar at Loyola with Ron Pearl.
Okay.
So the three of us in our respective universities were really, really into music and really, really into the academic side of all of it.
Nice.
Wow, man.
Yeah, so Matt and I would get together during the semesters, and write, and we would send our tracks down Florida for Greg to listen to every once in a while. And then we get together at summertime and try to gig out as much as we could during the summer months.
Well, I would, I would want to go and work with him in person anytime I could, because he's in Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, I got this one little lick I want to. Can I come down and record it?
So I have a question. Obviously, you know this, but you know the intro to Closer to the Heart?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I almost chopped my left hand off trying to figure that out. Yeah. Yeah, that was one of those ones where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a Sawzall, and I'm going to cut the neck off, and that's going to be the end of that. And because I was like, it's the most annoying fingering.
Wow.
For a Neanderthal like me.
I've never tried to figure it out.
It can be a little counterintuitive.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And then Alex is walking around going, I don't know why I have all this arthritis in my hand. It's like, really? You're making fingers do what they're not used to doing.
Yeah.
Well, he got famous doing it, and now it pays the bills.
Yeah, I think he's okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you guys were doing the recording remotely and sending this stuff down. Did that ever turn into off semester actually getting together and playing the music?
Yeah. We would spend a lot of the time, immediately when summer came. We actually had a pretty rigorous rehearsal schedule. We would rehearse at least twice a week. Friday night, Saturday mornings, and just try to pound out all of the new material that we had written and try to get something together so we can put a show together. But, we were just a couple college kids, and trying to find gigs, it was just really difficult. So we would try to paste together as much as we could, wherever we could. But, and we tried to record a lot of our stuff, but we could never... financially, we just couldn't put it together to do anything serious.
Well, that's tough. Everybody's in college, and
there's no money there,
right?
No,
and
money going out.
Yeah, lots of money going out. Yeah,
nothing coming in. Yeah. And this was in the mid '90s, and you guys were trying to be an all original band, right? And trying to get gigs.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was when it all started really getting difficult to play. Places.
It really was a strange time. There was just this weird vibe around the area.
Yeah, and the progressive stuff, that kind of comes and goes in waves.
It's,
and
it's a hard sell, in good times.
Yeah.
Right.
It can be. So, but it's such accomplished music,
Yeah, that's the sad part about it, right?
Exactly. There's so much talent to do that.
Yeah.
Yet, you're rocking out to to people that can
The
barely
staff.
sing and they have auto tune and can't play a damn instrument.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we were naive enough to think that the masses would come flocking to us once they realized we were jamming in 7. And
the rude awakening is the masses don't know what that means.
Right. We're just like, I was just dumbstruck. I'm like, why is Nirvana so popular? I don't understand.
Well, you're not alone in that department. I've asked
sure.
that question sometimes myself.
That's for sure.
Of course, the drummer came out of that band.
Yeah, he didn't do too badly.
Yeah.
He didn't do too bad.
Yeah, he does pretty good, actually. Until he falls off the edge of the stage. But
what's his? Yeah,
that's another story.
It's his prog stuff. We're gonna have to buy flannel shirts and see if that gets us any notice.
Yeah.
Christ. So where did it go from there? Where did it? How did it start getting from there to where you are now?
Wow. Well, it's a huge. That's a twisted tale.
I love twisted tales.
So the band that I was with Matt and Greg, we were called All This, and that it fell apart right after we got out of college, and I kind of floundered around with a couple of cover bands. But then, like around 2000, I packed up and moved to Boston. Mm-hmm. And that Matt had to head there maybe a year and a half before I got up there. And I actually went into academia and got a couple of master's degrees in theology.
Wow!
And just a couple.
Yeah. My first one was in 2002, and then I was teaching. I moved to Philly. After Boston, I moved to Philly, taught there, was doing a couple of lecturing, and then moved back to Baltimore because I had gotten married and my wife got into her master's program, doctoral program at University of Maryland.
Oh, okay.
So we moved back to Baltimore, and then I was still teaching, kind of doing the academic thing. And in 2010, we packed up, and in that time I had a family.
Okay.
And moved out to Milwaukee because I got into another grad program at Marquette.
Wow. Jeez.
In theology. And but then by this time I'm like, the academic world is just not for me, for what I'm trying to do and what I thought it was. And
it's good that it only took you 2 masters to figure that out.
I know. I wish I had figured it out.
I shouldn't laugh. I really should.
Well,
that's just
the good thing is you're putting a lot of money into loan companies.
I know. Just think of all the gear I could.
Right.
That's what kills me.
No wonder he doesn't have gear acquisition syndrome. He couldn't.
I couldn't.
Right. Well,
I got 5 strings on my guitar this week.
Well, in today's world, though, you don't need a lot.
No, if
you have a speaker,
true.
You're shunned.
That's true. Yeah. So I moved out here to Milwaukee and just kind of joined a couple of cover bands, and then I met up with a singer-songwriter who's out just south of Milwaukee, and her drummer, Roger, is the drummer in Well Known Strangers.
Okay.
And he and I struck up a friendship. And just as I joined with this other cover band, he had just started with Well Known Strangers. A couple of months go by. He's like, man, you got to hear our EP. I gave a listen to the EP, and I went, I got to be a part of that.
Wow.
So I reached out to Joe, who's kind of like the band leader for Well Known Strangers. And I said, hey, Joe, listen, I know you guys, just starting and you got this whole thing that you're working out, but I just want to let you know, like, I'm pretty good on guitar and I can pretty much do anything you want me to. So if you need a session guy to come in and play, either if it's on tour or or just lay down some tracks. And then he thought, okay. And just kind of like, just by a weird twist of fate, there was a rearranging of one of the members. And Joe gave me a call, and he's like, hey, listen, would you like to meet the band and kind of be a part of what we're doing? And I said, absolutely.
Now, Joe, is he one of the musicians in the band?
He is. He's the other guitar player. He's the rhythm guy.
Okay. He plays acoustic mainly, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He does all the acoustic work. I do all the electric work.
Now, this is a crazy departure from, like, the prog thing that you were really into. I mean, this is...
Yeah.
This has when I hear it, I think of, like, an Irish type band, and I'm trying to think of their name, and I keep forgetting their name. It was two Irish sisters that came. I've seen them live, and I can't put a name on them. But you guys remind me of that band. I've not seen them since.
Okay,
this was like one time at Merriweather. They opened up for another band, and I thought they were really good. And that was the end of that. And I never saw them again. And but
is it the same? And I can't think of their name either. Is it possibly the same band? I'm pretty sure it was only two Irish chicks in the band, females. I'm sorry. They opened for the Stones for a bit, for a part of the tour.
Yes.
I cannot think of it, but yes, I know who you're talking about.
Did it sound like a frying pan or something? And not to get confused with Skrillex. But it was something.
Oh, that sounds like a frying pan to you? Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Skillet.
Oh, Skillet. There you go, Skillet.
That was the name of the band.
Skillet.
No, it wasn't.
No, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, now I got to check it out.
No, I don't think that was the name of the band. That's
Skillet does have cello, but I don't think they have two Irish ladies in it.
Yeah.
Hold on now. Let's see here.
So while Mick is looking, the change in band lineup, did another guitar player leave and you replaced him, or was it some other type of member?
Yeah, there was another guitar player. So I think initially Joe was kind of taking care of the electric and the lead stuff. And I think it became really apparent that he would be better suited for the acoustic work, kind of doing the rhythm stuff. And the other member had other obligations and just couldn't commit to the possibility of going on tour and all that entails,
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of was like for me, a very nice turn of events. So that the opening happened. And it's interesting because, with all my music training, because I have my undergrad's in classical guitar.
Jesus.
Of course it is.
Which university didn't you go to? We can just cover it easier that way.
Well, when I studied at Loyola, I studied with Ron Perl. I got my degree in classical guitar there. And just, learning to do chamber music was a big deal. And I think playing with well-known strangers is very akin to like a chamber group, because one of my challenges with well-known strangers, being the lead guitar player, I have to make sure that there's sonic space for the cello, who really is another lead instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting and complicated because we have to make sure that we play with each other and play around each other, and we don't step on each other's toes,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's really, really interesting how we've managed to work that out.
And pretty much every other instrument in the band is acoustic, correct?
Yeah, I mean the bass player is electric, but but everybody else is acoustic.
So
it's got like this weird kind of. Some people say it's kind of like country, but it's not country. It's kind of artsy folky, but it's not artsy folky.
Mm-hmm.
People have a really hard time trying to categorize what we're doing, which, much to the chagrin of our management team, they're just having a hard time trying to describe who we are.
Well, I think the one word that pops into one's mind would be original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And I mean, I would like to believe that phrase, what's wrong with that? But in today's day and age, it's like, well, if we can't put you somewhere, what do we do with you? Like, if we can't put a label on this thing, what do we do with it? How do we sell it? And that's the downfall. It's just, and what? It's just put it under music. Just put it under music.
I know.
You know, it's so frustrating sometimes. It's got to be for you guys.
It can be, yeah. It's hard for us to, and when we play live, our live sound isn't necessarily the same as what we have on the record. I mean, as far as like my tone, the tone that I have when I play live, is slightly different than what we were doing in the studio.
But I kind of like that, and I would think that you maybe find that what worked to track well with and to make a cohesive sounding recording doesn't really get it when you try to do it live.
Right.
So that's, I love going, I would prefer to go out and see a band that knows how to pull it off live, even if it's not a replication of the recording. It's kind of more fun to hear, and instead of them trying to pull it off exactly like the recording and it not coming off with enough energy or impact, change it up so that it properly hits the people the way you want them to receive it, and it just makes it that much better.
I'm coming up blank.
You coming up blank on that? Okay, all right. Well, we'll figure it out.
I'll keep searching.
But so moving into that now, the live performance of give us a little insight as to what's different, like how you might have recorded something, and now what's your live rig look like with respect to that, and comparisons.
Well, it's interesting. The live rig, it's kind of like always a work in progress, I think.
Cool.
I play through a Mesa Boogie Mark V head.
Wow.
Yeah, and originally I had Mesa Boogie has their Lone Star line, and I took their open 212 cabinet because I just like the sound of an open cabinet better than the closed. My first amp was a Fender solid state, but it was an open back, and I just loved the flexibility that it gave me. It didn't choke any of the highs, and it just, I don't know.
It breathes.
That's a really great way to put it.
Yeah, it breathes, and you're in an ensemble with other acoustic instruments that's how they make their sound. They breathe,
Right.
So
yeah.
the open back goes so much better with that. A closed back I think it would probably wind up sounding too foreign, in a distance like that.
Yeah.
And you want the Mark V for all that crazy metal distortion you guys use.
That's why it struck me funny. Really? Wow.
I know the Mark V. Well, so when I was a couple of years ago and I was searching for, my new rig, I really just was investigating heavily as to what kind of tone I wanted. And the Mark V is the most versatile amp I've used. I can get, they have 3 channels, right? And each channel has 3 modes. So I can tailor each of the channels to get a certain variation thereof. So I have like my clean channel, and then my second channel I have like a mild distortion, and then my third channel I can get like liquidity for stuff when I do lead work. But what I quickly realized was playing in some of the smaller clubs, playing through a 212 with my Mark V head, the stage volume just started becoming an issue. And because the cello player mics her cello very uniquely. Initially, she had a specific mic that was clipped right under the bridge.
Okay.
Like it was a super cardioid mic, which made the cello sound great, but then it picked everything up on stage.
Including the Mark V.
Yeah.
Including the Mark V. So, and not to mention the guy, who's banging behind us all. So it became, there were, feedback issues, and there was a bleed through. And so I eventually decided to go through a Palmer. So I got myself a little, the Palmer, I think it's the PGA-04.
Yeah, the load box.
Yeah. And now I just run through that and then just give the front of house a direct line. And then that way I open up my Mark V 90 watts and can give full bore without, people's ears bleeding.
Do you guys are you in-ear or wedges or?
Yeah, we all do in-ears.
In-ears, okay.
Yeah, which it's interesting because I got turned on to in-ears a couple of years ago, and I'll never go back. I just find them so. I can tailor to whatever I need, and I don't have to worry about, somebody else controlling my mix.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy now, man. I mean, you can have it any flavor you want. I mean, now with some of these modeling things that are coming out, there's other companies that are making flat speakers for the guitar players.
Right.
And I saw one of the companies over the weekend, and they have two inputs. One for the modeling device to get your blend, and then you take the other send from the mixing board, put the band in there. And then you can adjust that volume, and then there's an XLRs that go back out to the board, right, for your stuff, and you can actually tell it, just give me channel 1, give me channel 2, or blend both of them out. So if you're running like a stereo rig, you can have both. Depending upon what you want.
Sure.
It's insane now. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even, if you don't want anything on the stage, no problem. You stick this $500 earphone in.
Right.
And it sounds better than the best stereo you've ever heard. And then there's a little mixer for that. So I can have, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, everybody gets their own mix.
Yeah, but the good part, and I have not experienced this yet, but the good part that I've always heard from the singers is that they're not blowing their voice out, because they can sing at their volume without trying to compete with a drummer that's pounding the back of their head or a guitarist, and and that that does take its toll on singers. Night after night, screaming at the top of your lungs,
for sure,
like the guys in Airborne.
Right. Well, I mean, some will say, that's old school, as God intended, but
that is true. That is true.
I mean, if technology works for you, use it.
Yeah.
That's
and I mean, if it's a requirement to keep the stage volume down because you've got a cello or two,
right,
that you're going to have to, you got to do something.
Yeah.
You got to play nice in that sandbox, or else you're going to have a lot of problems.
Exactly. Yeah, the cello in our band has a higher priority than the lead guitar player.
Now you have two, right? Is there two in the band, or is it just
two
one?
cello? No, we just have one cello.
Okay, that's the other female.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Right. One's cello, one's vocal.
Yes.
But she does sing backups.
Yes.
And what I love is that she's got her mics like Lemmy.
Oh yeah, up above her.
Yeah, which is kind of cool because she's playing a cello, which is a bass. I mean, it is, and she's singing like Lemmy, but not really singing like Lemmy.
Now you guys are just gonna have to do a cover of Ace of Spades.
There you go. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be funny.
I like it.
First, I'm not familiar enough with the music that it actually surprised me that you are actually using 3 channels on an amp to get what you need to get. Are there any pedals involved on top of that?
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny because I'm more of a pedal geek now than I ever was. Growing up, I always believed, and I still do believe, that you can't rely on pedals to fix bad technique or bad tone. You have to have a solid, form. So I would, when I was younger and more pretentious, I used to, really just avoid pedals and just say, "Oh, we don't need pedals for these things."
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But I know, but now it's kind of like they're tools to be used to enhance the sound, and I'm a big Strymon fan.
Wow.
I love the Strymon pedals that I have. And actually, interestingly enough, I'm working with Bob Bradshaw, who's building me my pedal board.
Nice.
Yeah, and he and I have gone back and forth, regarding my needs and with what I have, because there's a lot of tap dancing that can happen on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Which I can't stand. So I decided to go MIDI. So I run a lot of my Strymon effects and a couple of other effects. Yeah, into
patch bays.
Into a MIDI controller box, which then so I can program each of the pedals to do what I need for any specific song with just the click of one button.
Mm-hmm. And for the listeners that don't know the whole thing, because they hear MIDI, they're thinking something else. The signal stays.
It's analog.
It stays analog, or if it hits a digital device, it goes digital. But the path stays quarter-inch jacks all the way from front end to back end.
Right.
And the MIDI is just to switch things in and out. And think of a patch bay that you don't have to switch the wires real fast.
Yeah, it's just there's all relays in there that are controlled by
I had a
MIDI command.
I had a PatchMate from Rocktron.
Oh yeah.
And man, that thing was awesome. Mm-hmm. You could do all kinds of stuff. You could switch amps with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man. One button and magic.
Yeah.
So the Strymon stuff is really top of the line stuff. And I mean they have processors in there that are literally computers.
I'm wondering if Theodore robs banks, because you play PRS guitars, you have Mesa amps. Yeah. Nothing is cheap on this list, and Strymons, and then Strymons. It's like,
well, it's been a process. It's been an accumulating time frame.
You walk around dizzy from selling all your blood. Is that how it works?
That's right. That's right. Selling all the books that I picked up from school.
There you go. There's an expense too.
Yeah, man.
I have not yet, but I would like to add an El Capistan to the rig at some point in time. They're supposed to be really nice. I haven't had the opportunity to play one. Is that one of your pedals? Do you have one of those in the rig?
No, I have the Timeline.
Okay.
The Big Sky and the Mobius.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So and those they're just so super powerful. I can program for the Timeline, for example. Well Known Strangers, we play to a click because we have some of our tunes we have backing that we like to use. Mm-hmm. But I can program the time delay to sync up with the click.
Jeez.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so a lot of the delays, you got to step on the pedal at the right time to program the delay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or you have to I think TC Electronics has the one where you step on the pedal and then you can strike the strings to the tempo that you want. But inevitably, 5 bars into the song, you're out of line with.
Right.
It's just not syncing up because you're never going to be perfect at it.
No, with a click. No, I mean people.
Right.
You can organically move around that as a liquid kind of band, but if you got to be on a click, man, that delay can't be outside of it. Yeah.
Right.
Wow,
not
interesting.
You don't want to use my tempo.
right. That's right. So sometimes I have a what do they call it? Dig? Yeah, their Dig pedal is their kind of like their retro 80s delay pedal. Okay. That I've been using a lot. And it's kind of cool because you can just kind of tap the tempo and then it kind of alters to whatever setting you're on, whether it's a dotted eighth note or a triplet feel or whatever.
Cool.
But this way, with the Timeline, what I can do is I can pre-program it for whatever beats per minute I need it to be, so that I can change with one click the tempo without having to, worry about stepping at it at the right time.
Right.
Man.
So and when we roll from song to song, because most of our shows, we'll have 5 songs lined up, and we just kind of roll through them, and you finish one song, and the click goes 2, 3, 4, and you're just rolling into the next song.
Yeah, it's a little structured.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has to be.
It
has to be.
Yeah.
So, PRSs. Were you always a PR? I can't imagine. Nobody starts on a PRS that I knew of.
No.
So, where did you start? Do you remember what your first guitar was?
Oh my gosh, yes, I still have it.
Nice.
Actually, I'm looking at it right now. It's so back when I was 12, 13, my first guitar was an Epiphone by Gibson.
Nice. Good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, one of those kind of like Ibanez wannabes, Strat kind of shred guitars.
I remember those years. That's like the late 80s, right?
Yep.
Yeah. They were making a 3 pickup hockey stick headstock.
Epiphone,
bolt-on Epiphone.
You're right.
Even Gibson, I think, had one. I forget what that thing was called.
Yeah, you're right.
That was like their ill-fated attempt to just try to. They were praying to God, please let Kramer go out of business.
Exactly.
For sure. We could make one just like this, and it has the Gibson name. It's got to be better.
Damn you, Eddie Van Halen.
Epiphone. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the first, huh?
Yeah, that was the first one, and I played that for a while. And then, through friends and acquaintances, I picked up an SG. When I was in college, I was heavy into jazz, and so I borrowed this guy's SG and put like 13-gauge strings on it.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was into jazz and Stevie Ray.
That's right.
What's amazing is you put 13s on the SG,
exactly.
and it becomes a boomerang.
I know.
Must have had one of the beefier necks.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I know. So I noodled on that for a while. But when I was a kid, being around Baltimore, PRSs were kind of always in the air, so to speak.
They're ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I, could never really afford one. And then when I got to college, I'm like, I got to get an electric guitar that I'll have for life. And, playing Gibsons and, I've played with Fenders, and those were everywhere. You were either a Gibson guy or a Fender guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really like either of them precisely for that reason, because they were, everybody loved them. And then it just was like, that's just not my thing. I don't want to sound like Slash. I don't want to sound like Eric Clapton. So that's, when I discovered PRSs and drove down to Chuck Levitt's.
Washington Music.
Washington Music Center, yep.
Yeah,
and because there weren't too many places to get PRSs back in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
well, there was Bruce at Guitar Exchange. That's where I got mine.
Yeah. But you probably, would you buy from Paul Shine? Paul's the guy.
Paul
it must have been.
Paul was the guy back there.
He'll write you a wife receipt. If he's still there, you can go in and say, look, I know it's $2,500, but can we make it $250? Gets another pad, writes it out.
It's a wife receipt. We leave off a zero.
Yeah, that's the only way it flies.
That's hilarious.
At a Mesa Boogie, it only costs $150.
Wow.
Yeah, the problem was I kept the other receipt. She found that one. That was a bad day, man. That was a really bad day.
Oh, well. So, well.
Yeah, so like in 94, I got my PRS.
Nice.
And I've been playing it ever since. So it's just amazing. It's got the original Dragon 1 pickups in it.
Man, it's a 94, right?
Yeah, 94.
Oh, that's the pre-factory.
Yeah.
Because the factory started in 95. So
right.
Was it made over there, though? Was it made over in Stevensville?
Well,
because he had the Annapolis.
Right.
And then it moved.
Then he moved to Stevensville.
But it was a smaller place. It wasn't
the place next to the building that he has now.
Yeah, but that was in 95.
Right, I think so.
So it was after NAMM 94 that he came up with all the orders. And he was like, I need some cash and some backers because I need a building to be able to do this. Because what was it? I heard all kinds of crazy numbers. That he went in with the NAMM Show 20, the 20 that had been locked up in a closet somewhere that nobody knows where. And that he came out with 65,000 orders or something like that.
No.
Some ridiculous number.
But that's not when he started the company.
No, that was after he was
well
going.
After, okay.
Yeah, but he did this NAMM Show 20 that were the prize one,
cool.
to display, and he was the only cat doing that at that time because of all the flame and curly maple and his the Paul Reed stuff, right? And then supposedly when he walked away from the show, there was a ton of orders and no factory to do it. So they had to scramble to get the factory built, and that's when that all started. But but I think what I've heard is that there was two shops in Annapolis the small one above the ram's head.
Oh, there was absolutely another one. I had been to the other one.
Yeah, and then there was another one where they were actually churning out like 30 a month or something.
It was off of West Street.
Yeah.
I know where it was, yeah.
So that's probably where yours came
more than
from.
likely. More than likely.
I'm pretty sure that's where, yeah.
Yeah, before you went to the Eastern Shore. Yeah.
I went a long way to get to that.
I know, but that's okay. That's okay. yeah, I know where that one was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, PRS history there.
There you go.
Yeah, I took the tour.
So you've had it since new, and you're still playing it. Awesome.
Yeah, I remember that he opened the case. The binding was still wrapped around the neck, and it just opens it up. I'm like, oh my God, that's my guitar. It's like, that's it.
So since '94, how many sets of frets have been on that thing?
Well, only one.
Oh.
Because I just had the frets leveled a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Because I was having a little bit of an intonation problem because of the grooves in the frets from all the playing. But it is definitely due for a new fret job.
Well,
it's
just remember this: Steve Morse's number one, his Ernie Ball, has had 10 sets of frets. So you got many more to go.
I swear there's got to be a new fretboard on that guitar by now.
I don't even understand that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that is on the Guitar Rig Rundown from Premier Guitar. He says, 10 sets. One set that went on and off as quick as they went on because they were made out of porcelain.
Jesus.
What?
Yeah. He found a company that made porcelain frets. He put them on. He said it sounded horrible. I know this isn't the Steve Morse show, but it's pretty interesting.
How do you get those in without cracking?
I don't understand.
Wow.
It must have been glue, because by then the fret slot had to be a mile wide.
Well, it had to be porcelain coated steel because that's what porcelain is. It's a coating on steel. So
okay,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like glass frets, but no. And then he actually has stainless steel frets in his guitar now.
Yeah.
Because I guess they said there's no 11 set coming.
They take some getting used to.
Yeah, they get a little.
They're too slippery.
Very slippery and a little glassy, kind of pingy. Yeah.
Got to turn down the treble a little bit.
A little bit.
Wow. So, okay, we went through the whole guitar thing. What was I going to ask? Are you guys currently recording or currently touring or a little bit of each, or what does the band look like nowadays? What are you guys up to?
Well, this past January, we just launched our debut album. So we're in the process of touring now regionally.
Cool.
To build momentum. And it's been, we have a lot of material that's written. I think maybe our second album might be halfway done.
Nice.
So there's talk of us getting together again to dive deep into some more some more writing, so that before the end of the year or maybe the beginning of next year that we'll be ready to sit down to do a second album. But yeah, right now we're just kind of building a lot of steam, building up our presence, social media, and trying to get our name out there and playing out as much as we can.
So do you go out like 2 weeks at a time, or do you
or weekends? A lot of guys we know, even the big guys are going out on weekends and then flying back home and chilling out.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Weekend warrior type thing.
Yeah,
we do. Because we're still local, regional in the Midwest area, we have the flexibility to tour. We can do Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, St. Paul, those types of areas, and we can even get down. I guess a couple of months ago we went down to Nashville.
Oh, nice.
Because we've been playing for a lot of radio stations, and so we're got a lot of great flexibility to hit some really, really nice markets without having to spend 6 months on the road.
Nice.
Yeah.
And with all the colleges that you attended, I'm sure you can get booked there.
Alum.
We got to let you in.
Yeah. You guys didn't perchance do South by Southwest. I think it started last weekend?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, it just started last week. We did not. There were a couple of other things that we had going on that prevented us from getting down there. But yeah, we've talked about whether or not we should just go there, without having anything lined up, to go down there and just kind of find a place to play.
Yeah, it's not hard to do.
No, it's not. And I think that there's a huge number of people that just do that anyway.
I think it might be harder trying to get the van to the venue than actually finding a place to play.
Yeah, exactly. But you're close to Chicago too, and they have huge events every year.
Oh yeah, we played Chicago several times. We've Cubby Bear was our latest stop that we played, which is a fantastic place.
I'm telling you, I was just going to say, it must be something out there, because Greg, when we interviewed him, he's like, nah, just wanted to put a band together here. I tour around here. I like my family here, and I do well. And he does the Wildwood Guitars thing, of course. They fly him out to Colorado, and he does a lot of product demo stuff, but must be really good to have a band out there, and you can just kind of stay in that area without having to go broke.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, do you?
Chicago certainly helps. Chicago is a huge market.
Sure.
So.
Now, do you teach? Do you have students or anything? You're so
I don't
educated
have any students
in
right
music
now. I did teach in the past, but that's something that I'm looking to get into again.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, there's music education there. I mean,
a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Man.
I know it's only a minor. But,
and those cold states, they like Prague.
I know.
Because they have a lot of time that they are indoors, they can practice, they can learn all that weird timing.
Well, you got a lot of time you can listen to long songs.
Exactly.
That's great, yeah. Well, Theodore, what is the name of the new release?
Oh, well, the name of the release of Well Known Strangers is Aligned. Our album is Aligned.
Aligned.
Okay.
Is the name of the album. Splinter is the name of the song that has been debuted. We're going to release a second single from Aligned soon. Okay. But we have a song that we actually wrote last year. So this time last year, we wrote a song called Voices, which is on our album. So there's an organization that was called the Racine Coalition Against Human Trafficking.
Okay.
And they were having a benefit concert to raise awareness of the issue of human trafficking, because apparently I-94 is the highway that connects kind of Chicago to Milwaukee, and apparently human trafficking is kind of an issue up here for that very reason, that a lot of people are trafficked through this area out into like Des Moines and out points northwest. Mm-hmm. And so we wrote a song called Voices to raise awareness of the issue of human trafficking. And we're in the process of releasing a video with the help of a lot of other organizations, the Fight to End Exploitation and the I-94 campaign, all to raise awareness of the human trafficking situation. So our song Voices was released, I guess it was January of 2016. And so now we're getting ready to step it up to raise awareness, and we're going to launch a video. We have a benefit concert coming up in June where we're going to coordinate with a couple of other bands, local area, and just to kind of do a benefit concert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly a worthwhile cause.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, man. You don't think of it in America, but it's like...
Yes.
Yeah.
It's there.
Oh,
it's out there.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, too, man. It's it's a bizarre thing that you think of in this day and age, that would be still going on, but it seems to be thriving.
Yeah.
And, so that's well, good on you for that, man.
Absolutely. Good on you for that. And anybody else that gets involved in that with you, and good luck in that concert, and whatever touring you wind up doing, safe travels.
And the recap is Screamo Death Thrash metal band. No, this is definitely very easy listenable music, and it is well thought out. Because whenever you add those orchestrated string instruments, it just kind of takes on this whole new thing. I don't know what it is. It kind of engulfs you, I guess. I don't know. You know,
I call it music.
It's definitely music,
right.
But it has more of that compound, like we were talking, that it can't go to that brick wall thing,
right?
Because of these acoustic instruments, they have to kind of stay in this.
They have to be dynamic.
Yeah, they have to be very dynamic, and man, when it's recorded right, forget about it.
Yeah,
the cello can sound like it's 50 feet tall if it's done right.
Right,
that's right.
Yeah,
right.
and that's cool.
Cool. Speaking of recording, real quick question.
Yeah.
Did you? I would imagine at this point in time, unless there's some special need, you guys did all digital. There was no analog recording involved in this.
Right. It was all digital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it costs a fortune.
Oh my God.
It analog is
yeah. That makes the PRS look cheap.
Exactly.
That's true. That's true. Well,
but here's something for you to think about, Theodore. Our good buddy Davey Knowles, who lives in Chicago now.
Yeah.
He actually recorded his last album on repurposed 2-inch tape.
Yeah, he found a studio that would actually buy used tape, wipe it, and repurpose it.
And
they probably baked it to it. I don't know.
Yeah, he said, remember, it was just 2% of the high end gets cut off because of the repurposing. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what he said. So he said that the signal still sounds good.
Yeah,
and it's much cheaper.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But finding somebody with that machine is the other issue.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem, finding the equipment.
Yeah. Somebody that has it and wants to maintain it.
Unless you're friends with David Grohl.
Oh, there you go.
Which made us full circle back to Nirvana.
That's right. So, when you guys are ready, come record your second or third album at Dave's studio in Virginia on 2-inch tape. And
the original stuff at Sound City.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. And the cello will sound 60 feet tall at
there
that point.
You go.
So, cool.
That's right.
All right, Theodore, unless there's anything else you want to cover, man, we had a great time speaking with you, and I hope your audience continues to grow and grow.
Your website will live on our show in
perpetuity.
That's right.
Yep.
So
awesome.
Definitely go out to there and check it out.
Yeah.
Throw them some love, man.
Absolutely.
You're going to dig it.
Check out the stuff. It's different. It's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time with us. All the best to you guys. Safe travels, and best of luck in all that you do. And there you have the story.
Yeah, I was making some jokes, but
no, it's all good. It's all good.
Well, you know what I'll do? I'll put their video up on the webpage too, so that way you guys can go out to ampsandaccesscast.com and check it out.
Nice, but a totally different path from starting out in Prague.
Man,
falling in love with Prague.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with the band and you go check out the video, you're going to be like, "What?
What? You're right."
Yeah, guy was playing Rush, and now he's playing this. It's not bad. Don't get us wrong. It's not bad music. It's just completely
different. It's a 180.
It's 180.
Yeah.
Opposite ends of the spectrum. That's why I said death thrash metal with screamo lyrics.
But he's obviously musically schooled and knows how to compose parts that belong in this kind of music.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
with electric guitar and
not step on the other acoustic instruments.
3-channel Mesa amp and a PRS. It's like, how does this
First
fit?
off, the Mark V.
I know.
That's like...
It's
I don't know. To me, I always go, well, that's like bringing a howitzer to go hunt rabbit.
Right.
I need some gain in this band.
It's a little more than some, but hey, nobody says that outside the box is a bad thing. It's generally a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I seen a guy with a dual rectifier one time, and he was playing classic rock. Mm-hmm. He had it all flipped to the vintage stuff, because there is vintage, the Mark V has all that in it.
Yeah.
You flip to the vintage settings, and it takes all that big bottom end off.
Well, that's because his other band was a thrash death metal.
There you go. So until next time, my friend.
That's right, because you're going to find more eclecticity.
I'm Mick Marcelino.
And I'm Jeff Bober. I make up words.
And we're always saying,
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter at Amps and Axes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage, ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.